My name is Oscar Baechler. I'll show you some of my stuff in a minute. Thank you for that one clap. And just to get started, if you want to follow along or just have the bare minimum of having the program installed, you can go to Godot. And yeah, go get it. Godot. It's pronounced Godot based on the play Waiting for Godot, although Godot does sound like something a tech nerd would make up. Yeah, just a little bit about me to get you started. I'm actually much more on the art and content side. So I think all day long while I show you guys Godot things, all you smart people are going to shout out the answers to when I'm botching things. But if you want to know some of my art stuff, I'm usually on the internet as Ogbog. So you can go to ogbog.net. That's like my poorly maintained blog. A lot of what I do is Blender. You might have seen my earlier Blender talk. Here's a barrel generator I made. And I'm hoping to show a little bit of that content pipeline today, of how to export from there. You can also go to ogbog.gumroad.com, where I occasionally sell stuff. Some of it's free. You can get some of these things for free. This was based on an internet discussion where somebody said, wow, thanks for making Blender look easy. And I did this as a 20-minute speed project, just to make Blender look extra easy. Anyways. I also have an ArtStation, which is also a website I don't maintain. artstation.com/Oscar Baechler. I guess I'm on LinkedIn too. I think my two coolest things that I've done is, first off, I've worked for Pokemon. Ooh, Pokemon. So I've done some stuff for them. For the Pokemon Worlds, doing Blender thingies. I made all these items, and I think one of the coolest, this is the best compliment I ever got doing client work, which is they said, I was basically making these items that go in the final thing for Pokemon Worlds, and they were like, you keep recutting the storyboards because the stuff you're sending us looks so cool. So they recut a lot of this to have more of my stuff in there. The other thing I did is I wrote a book, Blender by Example. Ooh, PDF free download. That's how you know you've made it big time. Yep. Anyways, it's around here somewhere. I think this is it. Whee. It's 5 years out of date, which is a million years in software, but yeah, it's 700 pages. You can kill somebody with it. So yeah, I do a lot of community stuff. And about 2 or 3 years ago, Unity kind of shot themselves in the foot by announcing the Unity runtime fee. And they were going to charge you every time somebody opened your game. And instantly, it's one of those times where when the commercial software is easy, people don't complain. And then the instant, a little bit of evil comes out, suddenly the open source community has this massive flowering of potential. And so all of a sudden, overnight, a lot of people were like, screw this, I'm going to start using Godot. And although Godot existed before that, although other open source game engines are out there, that moment really kind of suddenly shot Godot up in user base. And I think one of the coolest examples of this is Games from Scratch, the Games from Scratch game jam. Scratch. I think it's that. Where is it? Gamesfromscratch.com. Now I can't find my link. See this? I'm not even using Godot, and I'm already underprepared. Anyways, it's one of the bigger game jams out there. If you don't know what a game jam is, it's a really great way to learn. It's a really great way to get mentorship from somebody who's way better at stuff than you. And also, it's just a nice way to make a game and have it be in a space that's not just you on your computer and then nobody ever sees your little trash can full of projects. But the Games from Scratch Game Jam is one of the bigger ones, and like in the 2020 Game Jam version of it, Godot was like a small percentage of project. Unity for the longest time was this massive chunk. It was like 80% Unity, 10% Unreal Engine, and then 5% Godot, and then all these other ones. And like all of a sudden, like in 2023, it jumped to like 15%, and in the 2024 Games from Scratch Game Jam, it went to still about 50% Unity games, 40% Godot submissions. So like overnight, like the amount of territory Godot was taking up like skyrocketed. I actually saw the Godot guys give a talk at the Game Developers Conference about a month or two ago, and one of the coolest facts they had, it's a good time for Godot. Godot's arrow is going upwards. But one of the facts they had was that GD script is now in the top 50 languages used in the world for computer programming, which is kind of a joke almost. I'm amazed at that. But that really says like how many people are using Godot engine when that's like the only place you use GD script. Anyways, just to give you guys a little bit of an overview of what we're maybe going to do today, I want to talk about some of the like core things that you find in the Godot engine when you start a new project. New project, get the project list. And a couple of the places that I recommend going to learn, because I don't think you're going to learn a whole game or in every single nook and cranny about this just at this talk. I think you have to go somewhere after this talk and talk to people when your first attempt at making a game blows up in your face. So yeah, let's keep going with this. So, yeah, everyone installed Godot? Sure, maybe. What is Godot? It's free and it's open source. It's not the only free and open source game engine. There are a bunch of other ones. It's cool to see that ecosystem building. I think one of the things I like is how Godot is sort of working in tandem with the other really successful open source things going on in the world. They've been adopting a lot of Blender conventions, and it just means that if you know Blender, you hop into Godot and you feel very comfy, It's a complete development environment. It has cross-platform deployment, so you can send your stuff to Android or web. It has a node-based architecture, so a lot of things that you need to do in a game, it kind of pre-packages those in a way that is very easy to understand. We'll look at some of the like laziest examples of that. And it has GD script. GD script is its Python-like personal language. And this is nice because a lot of the automatic things that you need to do in a game, it kind of just has built-in stuff for it. I also want to mention community stuff. You need to go out there and find other people who are better than me at this. And here's some of the things I recommend. Number one, there's a Godot engine Discord that's got a ton of users. It's very, very active. And I just am I kind of feel like the internet is dying and it's moving onto Discord, which is its own problem because it's a commercial thing in itself, and it's probably gearing up for an IPO. But right now, that's where a lot of the knowledge is, and it's where a lot of the personal feedback is. You can ask a beginner question and get an answer from an expert. You can ask a really difficult expert question and have other experts noodle on it with you. This one is kind of an ugly URL, but this is a group that I started. I'm actually like not qualified to be running a Godot user group, but I'm a user group person, and so I was the person who started the thing, and now I just have a bunch of experts, bossing me around on it. I love it. So this will take you to a smaller Discord that's the Godot Seattle group, and this is kind of nice because a lot of us can like meet in person, and it's just kind of nice to do your programming and stuff and solve your game engine problems with somebody looking over your shoulders. And then this is another huge one, which is meetup.com/Seattle Indies. I know this is Bellingham, but it's really close by. I think when we have official Godot Seattle events, we're going to be doing it through here. This is also where all my Blender stuff comes through now. So Seabug Study Hall is this Thursday on Discord. And yeah. What else can you do in this community? I want to mention some core ways that you can learn. I'm a big believer in the idea that you can learn a lot by digging around in somebody else's homework, just like copying their notes. It's like the number one way that I learn. When I start any given project, a lot of times the first thing I do is I download 50 projects by other people who attempted something. And it's the beauty of the open source community is we're able to learn from each other. And so here's some of the things I really recommend. GD script from zero is something that we'll take a look at as a way to start getting used to some of the GD script fundamentals. And this is another one, which is in Godot. The first thing you can do is just start. You don't even need to make a project. Before you even get started, when you start Godot, you have this project list, and here's a bunch of projects that I've made. Most of these have since been abandoned. But I want you to go to this second tab, which is the asset library. And again, we're dealing with questionable internet today. I'm operating over my phone as a hotspot. But what's cool is you can find a lot of pre-made projects where somebody else has done it and put it out there as a learning resource. Sometimes this is a full-on game. Sometimes it's just a small chunk of something where they solved a problem, like card moving or basic platformers. So you can look at templates. Look at that. First-person multiplayer templates. Do we really need to make a new first-person template when we could just do this? Unless, of course, this is like way, way long. Did it work? Confirm path, sure. I don't actually know if this is going to work. But it's something that I love doing, is just digging around on these. While this is loading up, I did want to show GD script. Learn to code from zero with GD script. I love this, which is GD Quest is a long-standing Godot guy and community. He has a ton of great tutorials. He has packages you can pay money for that I think are really good. He also has stuff on other aspects of this, such as like 3D and 2D. So Krita, I'm doing a talk tomorrow on Krita, and that's a phenomenal piece of open source software for making 2D sprites. Ooh, Godot 4 courses. Oh yeah. $216 to watch his videos. Where'd it go? So anyways, I highly recommend you just try this out as something where, right off the bat, you can learn some of these basic conventions of how to program in Godot with GD script. And, I love this because it's like as bare bones as possible. How do you give instructions? Oh, I got it right. Yeah. Are programming languages all completely different? No, they have many similarities. Oh, boy. Obviously, if you don't know these things, you should read them. Practice. And look, there's a little code here. So what's really cute to me is that they used Godot to make this. Run the code. Wow, I'm so good at Godot already. Are error messages a good thing or a bad thing? They're a good thing, right? They're here to help. Anyways, I highly recommend continue doing this. Oh, this doesn't do anything in this function. Let's try that. I fixed it. Wow, I'm so good at Godot. Anyways, this finally loaded. This is my first-person template. And look at this. Everything is all set up. When you have a Godot game, you can hit play to test it out, or hit F5. Ew. This is actually like a multiplayer template. That's way more advanced than I thought. So a lot of the stuff that you just need right out of the box in a game, like I know some of you guys are real crunchy code people, and you need to understand what's going on, so you want to make your own first-person shooter template. But I kind of love this, that it's interactive media, and we forget about the media side of it. I think sometimes we just focus too much on the interactive. And you can shortcut so many things these days. Quit. Where were we? This is why I don't like PowerPoint or Google Slides, because I always just want to jump back to the software and show stuff. Anyways, when you start a project, a lot of times you can download projects from the internet, you can extract it. You can navigate to this from the projects directory and open it up. You can code in other languages in GDScript, so C#, C++, and I love this about the open source world, man. Everyone's just cheating and making it up. So I've seen something where people are figuring out how to use Rust in Godot. I don't know what that means. I just know that I have lots of friends who love Rust, and like it has that magical cult energy of like, the same way Blender does. So therefore, theoretically, I like Rust. I don't know why I like Rust, but that's my explanation. So some of the core concepts, you start with nodes, and these are like prepackaged things that oftentimes have a lot of built-in functionality, and therefore you can rely on that. So here we have 2D nodes, control nodes. That's going to be kind of like a user interface. 3D nodes, which are going to contain 3D stuff. Canvas layers are also kind of like a user interface thing. And so, for instance, 3D nodes are going to be able to automatically interface with certain 3D concepts like orienting in Cartesian coordinates. But then there's a subset of those, like static bodies, which are going to be objects that have physics on them and they fall. Or no, rigid bodies have that. Static bodies affect rigid bodies, but they don't move. So you can think of it like a wall versus a ball. The ball is a rigid body, or a rigid body. You can throw it at stuff. The wall is a static body. It just gets hit and things bounce off of it. There's also stuff like the character body 3D, which has a lot of built-in functionality to just get you up and running with physics, moving your character around, and stuff like that. So after that, you've got scripts. You can attach a script to an object, and then it starts off with that as almost like a hierarchy thing. So you can use that to have like object, and it has a script attached, and you can reference the children inside of that node. And then you can do all this GDScript stuff. I think that it's actually recommended that you use GDScript. A lot of times it just works right out of the box in a way that's really handy for Godot people. I think it's an argument that I'm not willing to get into because I think I'll lose. But if you like, I think a lot of the benefit of C# and C++ is it's something that people already know and they know how to do a lot of fancy stuff with. And so as a result, it helps out a lot if you're just jumping in and you're already an expert. You have inputs, which we can set up and map. We can create an input. And then as a result, we can call that over here in our script and make it do stuff. And you have signals. Signals are something where if I have a node over here and I have a node over here, I can create a signal on all the things that this node can do. So like a static body or a rigid body, right? Some of the things a rigid body can do is when it hits something, it can emit a body was entered. That means a physics process happened. You can also have it do something like if it's on screen or not. But the most common one might be like if it has a physics thing, maybe it's like a bullet or you're shooting something. Whenever it hits something, I want it to disappear. And so you can create a signal that says, was this hit? Delete it. And it goes up to the parent node. I don't know if that's making sense. So nodes, what are nodes? They're basically these things inside of Godot that get you up and running a little faster. They each do special things. You can combine them into multiple things. And then you have them in a scene. So a lot of times what I enjoy about Godot is you can start setting up your level. Here's my level. Here's the floor with the objects on it. Here's the character. And the character is such a complex organism that you end up wanting to manage it as its own scene. So you can right-click and say, instantiate to a scene. And now it's like you have a scene within a scene. And it's almost like containers, but each one can be its own little thing. You got 2D, 3D, UI, structure nodes. These are the built-in functions on Godot. So ready happens every time that you start a game. Process delta is called every frame, so you can have things like I don't know, a timer that goes up with delta. Physics process happens on the physics layers, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so this is like an example of a basic character movement. Let's actually just make this really fast. You guys ready to do some Godot? All right. Let's create a new project. Project settings. No. Project, quit to project list. So who here has never made a Godot game? All right. That makes me feel a lot more confident. I don't have to be an expert. I just have to be more expert than you. I'm going to hit create. Bang! I'm going to say Linux Fest North West. Is everyone judging my terrible mix of camel case and other things? I'm an artist. I don't believe in naming conventions. So we're going to make a 3D game. I should have done this a little slower. Hold on. Let me do this again. Project, which project list? Where'd it go? So when I hit create, I just wanted to actually show this screen for a second. You can create your name. You can set it to a specific directory. These three modes are like for different use cases. Mobile is something where if you're deploying to mobile, you might want to start there and then turn off a lot of stuff. Version control. I think one of the interesting things I've learned about doing Godot projects and working on some game jam games with some friends is the game jam logic that if your game is not playable in the browser, nobody's going to play it, which is knife in the heart, right? So like that's sort of the modern game jam logic is, you know, if you're chasing those sweet votes, put it on the internet. People don't want to download an executable anymore. Anyways, going back to this. So we have a 3D game now, and let's look at this beautiful Godot interface. You have several things going on. First off, over here is the file system. This is where all your stuff exists. This might just be music that you're going to throw in there. It might be your art assets. It actually is going to include the scenes that we create and the scripts that we put on our objects inside of our scenes. Up here is where we're going to create the hierarchy of any given scene. We haven't created a scene yet, so it just has these, and we'll get into that later. And then we have this 3D view. Let's actually create something to do this. And then lastly, you have over here the inspector, which also is going to have stuff about the node and the groups and stuff. But let's start by just creating a 3D scene. So now we have something to work off of. And a scene requires one node, but it doesn't have to be this node 3D. It can actually be any sort of thing that you want. So oftentimes you can right-click and say, like, oh, hi, Mom. Are you calling during my talk? I apologize, Mom. That was actually a scam. Change type. So here you can see all the nodes that exist. And any one of these could be the start. So for instance, if I wanted this to be the character scene right off the bat, I might type in character. And there's character body 3D or character body 3D, and it could start with that. But we'll actually leave this at the start, and I'll name this level. And now I can start adding other things to this, such as, let's actually add a child node called static body 3D. Oh no, it's mad at me. What does this error mean? it means that there's nothing actually inside of this. So it's a static body that doesn't contain anything. And I love starting with this one just because it's like something where you set these up a lot as you're right out of the bat thing. So this needs a shape and it needs a collision on it. So I'm going to start by hitting Control A again, which will add another node. And it's going to be underneath this. And I'm going to add a mesh instance node. Oh, it's still mad at me in several ways. Number one, it doesn't actually have a mesh instance on it. And number two, there's still no collision on that mesh. I'm going to go over here to the inspector, and this is where you can start seeing all the attributes that you change in Godot. And I'm going to click on this pull down and choose New Box Mesh. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? Your first 3D cube. Now, if I go into this setting, this is a weird thing because you're looking for this pull down. It's actually that like I click on the picture, and this will give me the settings of it. And this is just important to note because who was here in my Blender talk? Love it. You remember how I was getting all grumpy about object transforms and object versus edit mode? The same is kind of true in here. You want nice clean transforms, by which I mean 0, 0, 0, and like the scale is 1, 1, 1. 1, 1, 1 meaning it's its own default size. So you can have a tall building, and its scale is 1 tall building, and I am a 6'2" tall man, so my scale is 1. I don't know if that metaphor is tracking. But the point is, like, when I am going to modify this, I want to go in here and start changing the size of this over here. So this is changing the size of the cube in the creation parameters, which is different from going over here and using move, scale, and rotate. So I would not, just do it the wrong way first. These buttons are move, scale, and rotate, and they're very handy for just positioning something. But you don't want to go over here and scale this and say, I want this cube to be like this because it's my ground plane. Because what I've done here, if you look at your transform, I've added crazy numbers, and that is going to make a physics process very sad, frowny face. So instead, what I want to do is go into the object creation parameters and make it bigger there. I'm going to try and make this something where it is a baseline of a level that we can look at. So this is going to be our floor that we walk around on.
How did you get to the object creation parameters?
You have to click on the picture. And there's like several other places where this kind of mentality happens, like physics objects and stuff like that. So there's two ways we can do this. We still have this angry little note that says, this node has no shape, so it can't collide or interact with other objects. Oh. Consider adding a collision shape. Well, we can do this the wrong way, which is I'm going to select that static body and hit Control A again, search collision shape 3D. And this is fine if you need to. It needs a shape, so I can click here and add a new box shape. And then I can position this so that it's kind of the same size as my cube. Again, I'm showing you the wrong way right now. But I'm a big believer in doing things the wrong way. I think, like, we need more beginner freedom to just like mess around and break it. So I could move around and make this shape kind of the same. But that was a lot of work, and I told you beforehand it's the wrong way. So I'm going to delete that. But this technically counts as a collision shape on that. Instead, I'm going to go up to this static body 3D. No, never mind. I'm clicking on my mesh. So I'm on the mesh instance, and you'll note that I have a context-sensitive menu. Now that I'm on this mesh object, I have a mesh menu that gives me mesh-specific commands. Let's click on it and see what toys we have. Ooh, UVs. This is the one I want. I'm going to click on Create Collision Shape. And it's going to create a tri-mesh collision shape that just automatically is the correct size of it. So that's kind of nice, especially if you're dealing with like a level and, you know, imagine it's not a cube, it's some sort of alien landscape with nooks and crannies and canyons and boulders. This tri-mesh is going to generate something that makes a lot more sense to that. So although it's not very exciting here, normally it would be. Oh yeah. Let's actually keep building this level out. What happens if I hit play? I'll hit select current. Oh, it wants me to save this. Sure. I'll call this level. Why not? When I hit play, nothing's happening. Oh no, I suck at Godot. What's happening is there's no camera and there's no lights. So it doesn't actually have anywhere that it's rendering from. It needs an object that represents the viewpoint of the user. So let's actually add another node here. It's going to be under this parent node of the level. So I'll hit Control A. I'll search camera. Ooh, camera 3D. Let's try it. This is going to be in the wrong spot because it's currently inside of the plane. So I'm going to click on the Move tools and Rotate tools. These are W, E, and R. Q being select. I kind of hate this because it's the way that Maya does it. But now I can move this camera up. I can click on Rotate and rotate it so it's looking down. Let's move this out. I can actually click this little preview button here and see what I'm looking at. So this is what it'll look like when I hit play. Maybe I can move it a little closer, a little further down. There we go. That's what our level is going to look like when I hit play. Let's try it. I can hit F5 to play this and F8 to quit. Oh no, everything's dark. That's because well, first off, we don't really have multiple things to look at here, but also we don't have a light. So I'm going to go back to the top of my level and add another child node, which is going to be a light. I'm just going to search light, and hey, directional light. Point light is going to represent like a single point in space, like a light bulb, whereas directional light is going to represent infinite rays coming from an infinitely far source, like the sunshine. Oh no, that's why it broke. Wisdom of crowds. I would have taken like 5 minutes to realize what I'd done wrong. No, I do not want a 2D light. I want a 3D light, correct. I want a directional light 3D. I'm going to move this up. It's infinitely far, so I don't have to worry about it. But I can rotate it and make it some sort of interesting direction. Much better. And let's rename this static body floor. And let's add some other stuff to happen here. I'm going to go back to this level, and let's add a rigid body with Control A. You type in rigid. And this is going to give me some similar warnings of like, hey, I don't like this. You don't have anything in here. And we're going to go and solve that. First off, we need a mesh object. You can see here. It needs a collision shape or collision polygon. So let's start by hitting Control A to add a mesh instance. This is going to add another place where there's nothing inside of this. It's just an empty shell. And so I have to click on the mesh and choose what I want. Let's choose a sphere mesh. And then this is actually a case where I could just maybe add a shape. Collision shape 3D. And for this shape, I'm just going to choose sphere as well, which means that, I mean, if you click these off, you can see that the sphere is about the same size as the collision shape, and that's because they were both created and I didn't do anything to them. But we're going to click on this rigid body and move it up in space. Now, one thing I could start doing is start hitting Control D, slapping that Control D button to duplicate this a bunch. And I could make a series of these. Let's see if anything happens now when I hit play. F5 to play. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Wow, I'm a physics expert. All right, why does that suck? Anybody got the answer? Physics is happening, but I think one thing that was bad about this is each one of those is getting its own hierarchy, and so I should be using some sort of instancing logic where I can duplicate it, and then if I decide I want to go back and make some of them small or some of them big, I can do it one time, and it'll cascade down to all of them. So I'm actually going to right-click on this and choose Instantiate Scene. Where is it? Instantiate Child Scene. Everybody see that in the menu? Instantiate Child Scene. Boop. And I'm gonna. Wait, that's not it. Did I do this wrong? No, that's not it. I don't want that. I'm dumb. I want to, never mind. I want to save branch as a scene. Instantiate child scene is when you bring a bunch of those scenes in. Sorry, I got that wrong. Save branch as scene. I'll call this volleyball. And you'll note that there's this new icon, which is a scene icon. And if I click that, I go there. Probably one of the things I want to do in this is fix it so that the transform is not happening in this scene. So I'm going to go back to that rigid body. I'll click into the transform here, and I'll lower back to the middle. Go back to my level. And now when I duplicate this, I can have a bunch of these. I'm just hitting Control D and moving them around. Oh, don't do that. Oops. And then I select more of them. I'll select all of them. And I'll Control D again. Yes. And I'll Control D again. And now when I hit F5 to play. Oh, so exciting. Well, congratulations. You're a game dev. I might do something like a node 3D, and I'll name this balls. And I'll put all my balls in there. Then I can hide them. Now I can move the whole thing. All right, should we do something a little harder? Just a little bit harder. Okay. I'm going to start by opening up Blender. And let's go over here. So this is a little file I've been working on. And, on the content side of things, that's sort of the other puzzle piece here. Is like over here is your game engine where all the things move around and do things. And over here is your content creation engine where you actually make 3D models. You make your anime OC. You make your cool idea that's going to attack all the bad guys in the game. It's always attacking. People are so violent. We need more games where the characters kiss and we make babies.
I think when they did both, it's called Spore.
Ooh. I think they kind of do both in The Sims too. So this is a file with lots of stuff going on. This is just like a flattened mesh. And so here you have a mesh object. And I don't know if there's materials on here. I think I put something on. This is something I've been working on. It's got nice polygons. And I haven't finished like below the neck. But so this is like step one, is the mesh object. And you set this up and it's made of polygons. You make it in Blender. This is called A pose. You have like T pose, which is like this. A pose is a little better in rigging because although a T pose might seem like it's closer to the overall arc of your body, you spend 90% of your life like this. And so this is less attacking on the rig, so it's better for your armpit joints and stuff. Same thing with the A pose, like, you know, back in the day people would do this, and then the first thing you do is spend 90% of your game with the character's feet like this. So these days I kind of lean towards arms at this angle and legs kind of in standing mode. So this is object one. This contains a bunch of other pieces of data inside of it, such as UVs. Oh no, UVs are a two-dimensional representation of a 3D object. And so this is how you put textures on things. You can think of it like unwrapping an orange. Like, have you ever unwrapped an orange and you get the peel in a single piece? And it's like so satisfying. It's like the orange mini game. Like if it breaks into two pieces, you lost. But you can unpeel that orange and you lay it flat and you get your paints out and you paint a little globe and you wrap that back around the orange. Suddenly it looks like a globe, right? It looks like the Earth. And so that's kind of the metaphor I use for UVs. That's another piece of the 3D puzzle. There's also rigs. This is actually a meta rig called, let's do it real fast. All right, real fast. Here's how to rig. Step one, you hit Shift A, go to Armature. But I don't have Rigify installed, so I got to edit Preferences. This is in Blender. Welcome to Oscar's Godot Talk, where it turns out to be a Blender talk. I'm going to search Rigify over here and turn it on, which is going to give me this cool little add-on. Shift A, Armature, Rigify Meta Rigs, Human, Basic. Oh man, look at these Godot rigs. Where did I find those? Well, first off, there's other things you can do, such as edit preferences. And I recommend the look up Rigify Animbox, which has some tools to like give you some automatic animation functionality. Although this is not working in Blender 4.4, so you have to go to Blender 4.3. But the animations you see in this are mostly going to be, you know, straight out of the box from Animbox. The other thing you're going to want to look at is under Rigify, there are feature sets you can install from a template. And this is important because the Rigify rig that pops out in Blender default is designed for Blender. And there are certain hierarchical things like bones that don't connect. Whereas in a game engine, there are under the hood reasons that the rig bones that contain weights have to have an explicit hierarchy. Is this like way too fast, way over your head? All right, that's fine. It'll be fine. So basically, you can go and find this Rigodoify, and this has a Rigify template that will have a rig that automatically functions in Godot. So it's a little better. So the rig that you're about to see was made using Rigify, using the Godot template, and I'm using Animbox for cheap animations, although we're not going to see that because this is Blender 4.4. So anyways, if you added this under Godot rigs, you can choose human with 3 fingers. This creates what's known as a meta rig, and you use this to go into edit mode and position this. So the idea behind a meta rig is your character might be a giant or a person with weird arms. And whatever you want, live your dream, man. So maybe they have very long legs. Ooh la la. So you modify the template rig first, and then when you like it, you create the actual rig. So this is the meta rig, and then over here I hit generate rig, and this will generate a rig. I can throw this away now, or hide it. And this is the rig that I actually do my animation on. And I used that plus Blender 4.3 plus Animbox to get this. So this has 2 animations on it. Here's this rig run animation. Now look at him go. Whee. So again, talking a bit about some of the specifics of the content side, this rig has bones. The bones can either be functional, such as control bones that help you position it, or they can be weight bones, which actually have an influence over the 3D mesh, and it lets me modify how this character moves around. So like, This is like what I wanted. I modeled this because I wanted to do like, you know, coconut style head for it. The Godot Seattle group is making a Godot Seattle specific game jam coming up, and this is going to be something we're doing. We want to do like a WarioWare thing where everyone gets some assets and everyone submits a game that is like 30 seconds worth of dopamine hit, and then we'll package everything together in one super game. We'll see if we pull it off. I think we could. So now that I have this, these are storing something called keyframes, which are like the rotation or scale going on at any given time. And so I could move these around and you see the timing is different. The keyframes are stored in something called an action, which is a place where the animation is. The actions are not something that necessarily exports. What you need to do is export from the nonlinear animation editor. And so for any given thing that I'm working on, this action, you have to like push it down and then it'll say stash it. And now this is an extra thing that I'm stashing. Then, finally, I want to export this. I'll choose my rig and my mesh, and I'll use File, Export, GLTF. You guys familiar with this one? Anybody ever? GLTF? Well, the under the hood drama is that FBX is a proprietary format made by Autodesk, and it's awful, and everyone hates it. And so GLTF is something where it's not even just the open source community. It's people who want open standards for the sake of open standards. It's not just hippies. It's also like giant corporations who are sick of Autodesk. GLTF is sort of a newer format that is designed for these things to be an open format that actually covers a lot of things. There's also this one, which is USD, Universal Scene Description, and this is something where there's something called the VFX reference document, which is all the things that the industry says we want all 3D software to be capable of doing this. And Blender's been doing a lot of stuff to stay compatible with the VFX reference document. But we want this, GLTF. When I click this export, you can save these as presets, but what I really want to do is I want to include my selected objects. I probably don't need to do anything else. But sometimes you might do things like for the armature, export deformation bones only. All these mechanical bones that did stuff, I actually don't need once they go into the game engine. When you export to a game engine, it squashes all those cool functions down into single keyframes only on the deform bones. And so you can basically throw the rest of the rig away, and it'll be a lot faster. But I'm going to start with this and export this. I think I already had this done. So over here in my Godot scene, I'm going to right-click and choose New Resource. No, that's not what I want to do. I'm just going to click and drag into here, or open in File Manager. I'm going to where I found that thing, and I'll click and drag it over here, and it will import this in as a thing. And now I can start doing things like new folders, and I can say characters, or scenes, or script. And put my Godot mascot in my characters, my level.scene in my scenes folder, and my volleyball in my scenes folder. Let's go back to that Godot mascot though. And now on my level, I'm going to click and drag that in over here. Oh boy. We'll set his transforms to 0, 0, 0. And I actually want this to be a child of something. So I'm going to go to my root node, and this is where we're going to get into some of the scripty stuff. All right. I'm going to click on my level and hit Control A and search for character. And character body 3D is one that comes up. And this is a great example of Godot's nodes having like prepackaged functionality ready to go. This character body 3D is just going to have a lot of stuff that automatically works out of the box for characters. I'm going to click and drag this in here. And under here, you'll note that it says you do not have a collision shape on this. Well, I have my Godot character here. And I can add a new collision shape to this. So again, Control A, or I can hit this plus button. How am I on time?
It is 2:30 now.
When does this end?
5. Double check that. It's 3.
Sure.
You have 90 minutes of
Okay. All right, cool. I'm going to add a collision shape. Collision shape 3D. And I'll just make this a capsule. This capsule is going to automatically be kind of position strange. And I'm actually going to grab this character and move him up. And go back to my capsule. This top dot is how like big the capsule is up and down. So you gotta like go back and forth on this and like kind of there, kind of there. I should probably view this from the side view or front view. Does that look about right? Yeah, right there. Let's actually click on this character body 3D, and this is where I want to start having us see some scripting. So you guys see this little script folder up there? A little scroll icon. I'm going to have my character body 3D selected, and I will click on the script icon. And this is going to create a new, it's going to attach a GD script to this. You can choose your fancy things. It has this template that comes with this, and this is where nodes are really awesome. Is most of them have some sort of template script where if you add a script to them, it starts off with a lot of the beginning logic ready to go. But you can also say absolutely empty if you're really cool. And I will hit create. And now we switched windows. We've gone from this 3D window to the script window. You can kind of go back and forth. Woo. And look at all this stuff that's in here right off the bat. It starts off with some constants, and so I can change some of these. It also has that built-in physics process function, so it's always going to be doing this. If not is on floor, velocity equals get gravity. So is on floor is a built-in function that says, am I on the floor? And what's going to happen is when I'm on the floor, it's not actually going to run physics, but when it is, or it's not going to run like gravity. So if action slash or dot is action just pressed, UI accept, and is on floor, jump. So we're going to get into some of these built-in things, but it's going to have a direction. If direction is this, it's going to go that way. And then it gets all these ideas, and then it uses the move and slide built-in function. What does that even do, man? I don't know. I think if we hit F1 over anything, move, and slide. So F1 brings up your search, and you can find all those things. So this is a nice way that you can go through and learn the built-in functions as you go. So what does it do? It does all this stuff. I'm a dumb artist. I don't read these things. I just skip forward in the YouTube tutorial. Question?
How does it determine what the floor is? Just because you named it floor? Or?
I think it's based on if a physics process is happening. I don't know. Let's figure it out. Script. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like if two things are touching, we'll do it.
The floor could be a lot of things.
If you control-click on this, it'll bring it up. That's what I was trying to do. Returns true if the body collided with the floor on the last call of move and slide. So if previously, so at the start of this, at the start, it says if it's not on the floor, then do this. If it is on the floor, then do this. and then move and slide. After move and slide, I'm guessing it has a return that says if it's on the floor anymore, and then it determines on the next delta if it has to do it again. So let's see what happens now when I hit play. But look at this, I can move. I can move this guy around. So this has built-in, I'm just using the arrow keys to do this. Whee! Bonk, bonk, bonk. Oh no. Fine. This is so much fun. Now I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to play this the whole rest of the time. Oh yeah, I can jump. Whee!
Game done.
Look at me, I'm a game dev.
Ship it.
Like, share, subscribe, buy it on Steam. Please pre-order.
Yeah, wish list.
So let's actually look at this script one more time. It's doing these UI left, UI right, UI up, and UI down commands. And these are located in the project settings. So if I go to project settings, look at all these cool things that you can change on your project. I don't know what they do. I'm a dumb artist. But one thing you can do is you can go to, where is it? Input map. Oh yeah, there it is. Project settings, wisdom of crowds, where would I be without you? So if I go to the input map, there's built-in ones, which are the UI left, right, so on and so forth, and accept. And that's what it was calling. But I can actually instead create my own. So I can type something like left, and I'll hit add. And now when I click on this, I can hit plus, and I will say it's arrow key left. So I typed that in, and it'll do that. But I can add other ones. So what if I want to have ASDW? I'll hit A. It'll listen for that as well. What if I want to use my number pad, 48586? I can click plus one more time and hit 4. Key press 4. And I can do this for each of these. I'll add a right one, and I'll add a right key, D key. Oops, wrong one. And that's probably good enough for now. So now if I did this in my code here, I can change this to be left and right. And now it's going to look at that key map, famous last words. And now I can use A and D to move left and right, as well as the arrow keys. So this is how you can start having inputs, and then that's your shoot button or whatever. How's everyone doing? Like, any questions off the top of your head? Ask Justin tomorrow.
It might be going too deep into what you're trying to do, but I'm curious, because I saw the keyboard and joystick, but was there touch support?
I think so. Let's go look.
Presumably there is, I just didn't see it.
Input map. Here's the built-in action. So if you wanted to change these UI accept, you could actually just change it here. But input map, let's actually, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think so. I mean, they do mobile stuff, right? Keyboard, mouse, joypad. You know what it probably is? I bet like, let me save this and quit to the project list. I bet it might be something where it's like if you choose a project like a mobile one, then it would have that built in. Let's try that. Great for mobile. Compatibility might have more stuff. I just did something that was bad, I think. I just created it.
Project on top of another project. Same folder.
Oh, whoops.
Could possibly go
What could possibly go wrong?
Some confusion.
All right, fine. Perfect name convention. No nuts. You know, my day job is teaching. I teach at Lake Washington Institute of Technology, and we have a game program there and a design program, and also a fine arts department. So I teach in all those. I teach traditional painting as well as game design, and it's kind of a fun gamut. And you know, one of the questions in education that I always face is like, I love this open source stuff. How can we actually get it into the curriculum? And a lot of times, there's a lot of entrenched ideologies that say like, no, we're not allowed that. And one of the things I've loved in my interactive media class, which is basically make your first game. So I've been doing like, you know, basic project management things where it's like Scrum individual teams and the team gets to choose how they work. And this has created an opportunity where a team can just choose to use Godot, and that's what the team decides on, and therefore they are allowed to go learn that. And I kind of love that. So, I don't know. It's just a segue. I don't know what I'm talking about. Project settings, input map, touch. Can I add something from the touch list? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's in here. One of these. Joypads are built in.
Maybe just acts as a mouse. I think that's what code does it, put it on touchscreen, which gives you details to
Yeah.
So you have to do it all in script.
The other thing I would do is probably like,
I think that's the idea, it's just one option.
I see.
You use the touch screen, you go to the touch.
this is how I find things all the time. Is I love going here
That's what I figured you were
and
saying.
let's go to the asset library and type touch. Anything? Multi-touch view demo. All right. I mean, I don't have a touch screen, but good start. Mm.
So the price I figured it out.
What about the demo project?
Oh, I just noticed that one of the demo projects actually calls us multi-touch, so that seems better.
Yeah. Touch.
Very good.
Ooh, yum.
Sorry.
No, that was great. I love derails. What was that? Project. Quit the project list. I was gonna do like one last thing. Should we say hi to Godot Seattle? Welcome to Oscar's Talk, where he gets on social media. Godot. Thanks, Beth. Now we said hi. Here's a tip: don't save all your projects named new game project.
Like these old game projects?
Last new final underscore ASDF.
Just add a new number to it, like a password.
Very safe. I've been working on a game pitch in my interactive media class, which is we have to do so much freaking two-factor authentication. And so the pitch is kind of based on Liar's Poker, but it's Dungeons and Dragons, and your character stats are derived from the last two-factor authentication 6-digit code you got. All right, is this it?
Terrible characters. Anything past 10.
There it is. So I'm going to go back into that script. So here's my character. I'm clicking on this script. And this is actually something where at this point I probably want to save him out as a separate thing. But I'm going to do one last thing, which is, I'm probably doing this wrong. I'm typing Godot mascot. Let's see. Hold. So I can use this $sign, and this is going to reference it. And I'm just adding this one little chunk. I think I put it in the right spot. Again, I'm starting to tap out from my lack of sleep and lack of preparation. But theoretically, this means that it's going to look inside of this node. It's going to go down one in the hierarchy and look for the thing called Godot mascot. And it's going to set its rotation to this random thing that I copied off the internet. Because look at me, I'm a programmer, I can Google stuff. So theoretically now when he moves, he points that way. What with all the math and all. Whee. Now, a lot of these are based on parameters in the script. And so I can go up here and set this to like 20 jump velocity. 24. Let's save that and run it again. Ah! It's kind of the fun of, I love as a person who plays games, he'll come back. I've always loved like breaking games. That's how I tend to play games. Is I load up the game and I think I'm gonna ruin this game developer's vision. And I kind of like making my own games because I do that to myself. Anyways, what else do we have in these slides? I don't even know. So that's kind of some of the ways you can do this. You can make your own functions. Input mapping. What are signals? Signals are kind of a handy way of doing stuff in Godot, and it basically lets you take something and tell it to talk to something else. So if I go here to character body 2D, I could click on node, and the signals are all the sort of input things that this can have happen. So one example is, what do I have selected? Character body. No, I want to have this collision shape. Maybe. I guess it isn't. Child entered. Now let's go into the balls, actually. If I select one of these, this rigid body has something called onBody entered. And so if I double click this, it's going to, I think, insert it as something. I can put it over here. Connect. No, this doesn't actually have a script on it. So I'll go up to the top of my level and add a script. And now, when I select one of these, actually I'll do it in here. Body entered. Oh, I need to go. Never mind. Programmers, please help me. Body entered. So here I can choose the level, and this is going to connect it. And so what I've done here is I've created a signal that is connecting it to this level thing. So when this happens, I can have this do something. Like, I don't know, isn't there something like delete child node? I don't know if this will work. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I think it's like, this is where I have to go and Google the answer. It's like something, somehow I point to the thing above it, but this is where I get too dumb to do it. Let's actually talk about another thing, because I obviously am failing, which is 2D scenes in Godot. So same thing, I'm going to go to scene, my project, quit to project list. Don't say it. At the Game Developers Conference, one of the things that people were kind of reading the tea leaves about is Epic Games has so much money from Fortnite that they can essentially, on the business side of things, starve out Unity, which means that we might be looking at a future where the two big game engines are Godot and Unreal. We'll see. I'm going to create a new one, and I'll actually make it a forward plus. I'll call it 2D. And instead I'll create a 2D scene. I'm going to just click and drag this icon in a couple times. And on this icon, I can actually I'll make this called platform. And let's actually right click and instead change its type to static. Static body 2D. Oh, it's going to get mad at me because I don't have anything on it. It has no shape. So let's add a collision shape 2D. Collision. Oh, this is mad at me because it doesn't look like anything. So let's go over here and give it a shape. Choose this new rectangle shape. I want it to go from there to there. And from here to here. Let's add another icon up here. And I'm actually going to create a new level that's just a node 2D. Ah, crap. I think I actually did this wrong. I'm going to do this over. Instead, I add a static body. Then I'll throw this in there as a child of this. I want it this big and this big. And here I will add that collision shape. So now I have this start scene which contains both my platform and my character. And this needs a shape, new rectangle shape. Howee. Now I can add another one of these guys. I'm also going to add a character body 2D node. And on this, I'll put that icon in there. This also needs something. Has no shape. Oh no! Collision shape. New rectangle shape. There's my rectangle. And same thing, I'll just click on script. This is going to add default functionality in this. And let's hit play. I'll name this level. Terrible choice. I typed it all in caps. And now, same thing. I have a thing that can move around and a platform. We got about 10 minutes left, but that's about all I have to show. Any questions? Question?
We were talking about Windows earlier, and I think that was in Blender. You said something about stopping the with flattening when it goes into whatever. Is that I catch?
When it throws out bones? Yeah, so in Rigify, to go back to Blender, for all my Blender enjoyers in the room. This rig has multiple types of bones that all do different things. So this here is a control bone. You can make them go up and down. This is always everyone's favorite, which is like the hump bone, the dancy bone. And under the hood, another thing that's happening in this hierarchy is, if I scroll down, there is also these deform bones. So if I turn everything off except these, each one of these bones has various attributes that you can see here in Blender's property window. And these bones have deform turned on. So if I go over here, deform is on. And that means they are able to affect the mesh. So only the ones that have deform can affect the mesh. As a result, when you export this, this is the only thing that matters. Everything else just gets, like, all the fancy mechanical side of things that makes the rig function just gets thrown away anyways, and it's all flattened down to this. That's not always the case, but you know, it's usually the case. Yeah?
So are there comparable rigs in Godot?
Uh,
Your character can actually go running races or stuff?
yeah. In fact, like, we should try doing that. Going back to the over here. Scene. Quit to project list. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that was the last thing I was going to show. I do have 10 minutes more content. Inherited, sure. So going back to my 3D view, here's the character, and if I hit play on this, or if I open this scene, this has animations. I'll select this animation player, and you'll notice there's like 2 different animations that exported. One is the run animation. And one is the idle, which is just him standing here. Autoplay on it. I think there's other things you can do here, such as like make it automatically do stuff. So theoretically, let's see if I can get this to work. You know, I'm flying blind, so if this doesn't work, you know, I warned you. I'm going to go to this script, and in this, you have like 2 things that happen. One is like the movement when he's moving. So if this UI is happening, then this happens. So if input is actually just pressed, I think it's like animation player dot play. So somehow, I think like what I have to do is take that and what's the name of that animation? Rig Run 14. Wow, great name convention, Oscar. Yeah, I'm all over the place. Hmm?
That's complaining that you can't call an animation player class and stuff you make an instance. Do you need like an animation player node of some sort?
I think what it wants me to do is like look, so it's the function on this character body 2D, and if we go to that 3D scene, let's go to character body 3D. I'll save this as my scene. So I think it wants animation player. I don't know. I'll try this.
Doing this on the jump right now.
Oh crap. Whoops.
You got moving legs and
I don't know, maybe this will work. So in the same way that this pointed down that hierarchy at, oh, maybe it's not. It's pointing at that. Maybe I have to do this. Dot animation player. I so did not prepare for this.
It doesn't look the remove child thing.
Oh, this is like old. Anyways. Alright, so I would have to dig into this and figure it out. But yeah, it's something that, I don't know. Find somebody who's smarter than me by going to the project list. Quit the project list. Don't say it. And when you're in the project list, you can actually get a lot of like great template projects that are ready to go. So like, if you want to know how to make these, one of the great things you can do is to go to the asset library. Actually search for demos. And somebody's made a 3D character demo. There's things like this. This is one of the first tutorials you might do if you go through Godot's actual documentation. Oh, it got mad at me. Project. Quit to project list. Yeah, like I like searching stuff like platformer. And I think there's like a template platformer. Movement platformer framework. Installing it. Oh yeah, actually put these in places. Installing it. Yeah. So this, if we click on this, this has a terrain level. It's instantiating a character scene. If I click in that character scene, this is also probably GLB. Ooh, with a floor check. Let's look at its script. And somewhere in here, yeah, do whatever this guy's doing. But I love doing this because you can go back to these 3D scenes and just slap that F5 button and try them out. And so like, oh, it got mad at me. What happened? I don't think there's enough people to do this in the open source world. The sort of sharing aspects of, I believe in education it's the 5 R's, which is reuse, redistribute, remix, retain, and I don't know, something else. Go look at other people's stuff, guys. You'll learn something when you do that. It's great. It's good for you. All right. Anyways, that's my talk. I hope you learned something about Godot.